Welcome to Never End the Story, a rewatch podcast where we watch the movies of our childhood with Tepper, a grown man who's never seen them before. I'm your host, Ivan. This week we are joined by Chris, Connor, and of course Tepper. We will be watching The NeverEnding Story, directed by Wolfgang Petersen, released in 1984, based on the novel by Michael, and Connor brought this movie to us. Why?
I watched this movie an excessive amount as a child. I watched it so much that I went through, I think, about 3 VHSs by the end of my watching career. And I think it's absolutely shameful that Tepper has not yet seen this movie before.
Chris, do you have any connection with this movie?
I definitely watched a lot when I was a kid, and the sequels too. It was less important to me than I think it was to Connor, it sounds like. But when I was in university, I did a rewatch of a lot of this era of fantasy movies, and this one is just such a gem to me. And it became more important to me then than it was when I was a kid.
Myself, I've definitely seen the movie and its sequels on television, though, and I don't really know what happens where or when, or even in which movie. So now we're showing Tepper the poster of the movie, and we're going to see what he thinks happens. Well, describe the poster.
It has what looks like a princess on it. That weird white dog, which I've seen before. Somebody riding that weird white dog. Old German philosopher man.
Is that the one on the right or on the left?
I would say the one on the right. The one on the left is weird German witch woman, I think. I think that's a woman.
I like how they're both German.
There is Rockman, and is that a squirrel?
No.
And a man with a top hat riding that squirrel?
It's not a squirrel. I think that's all we'll say on that, though.
Yep.
For now.
Okay. In terms of what I know about this movie, I only know about the dog. I saw it somewhere. I think there was like a YouTube video I watched a while back of a short clip from NeverEnding Story, but I can't recall the details of it because it's been so long since I've seen it. In terms of what happens, I have no idea.
Okay, which of these characters on the poster do you think is the main character?
The one that's front and center on the poster.
So the princess.
Probably the princess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we'll see you after the movie.
They look like big, good, strong hands, don't they? I always thought that's what they were.
And we're back. What did everyone think?
It's an amazing movie, Tepper. I see your face.
I don't want to disappoint you.
You've already disappointed me.
Okay. I was so boring. Oh my god. Oh, nothing happens. Like it felt like it was just all environmental challenges, but that there wasn't like there wasn't like an active threat against him. It was just kind of like, and another thing is sweeping stuff away, and he goes on this journey across the land. But like the wolf was cool, and I was so looking forward to the wolf doing things. He shows up, explains kind of like a whole bunch of stuff about the world and like the themes of it and so on and so forth, and then just dies. And it was like, you were so cool, and you just died like a bitch.
But like that last intro of that wolf was like fucking sweet though.
Yeah, like the wolf was very cool. Like the wolf was awesome, and I was so disappointed that they just didn't really do much with him.
But the horse!
That was like the only semi-emotional part of that movie.
You skipped.
Yeah, you walked out of the room during They Seemed Like Big Strong Hands. Which is
I
like...
almost actually cried right there.
Yeah.
And, like, but even so, I had no attachment to those characters because they show up for 30 seconds, it felt like. Like, they were just kind of there, we don't learn really anything about them.
They're the characters that establish at the start
Yeah,
that
yeah,
the nothing is a threat.
Yeah, no, and they're great establishing characters for like the world. I actually like that setup of them meeting up and going like, here's the problem.
These like three weird travelers. That's
Yeah.
when that movie's at its best, when it's like, here's a crazy thing that's happening in Fantasia.
Yeah, and like I like that. I like that opening where I was like, yeah, that's a good way to establish the world and talk about the problems. But I can't get emotionally attached to like 3-4 guys who show up for like 2 minutes of screen time and then disappear as the hero goes on his journey.
But the racing snail was really fast.
It was a cool snail. Doesn't mean I care about the snail.
Also, it's not a squirrel.
Yes.
Okay, in my defense, that poster, that part of it was not in detail, okay? Like,
Also, fun fact, main character not on the poster.
yeah.
I still think Atreyu's the main character.
So-
I don't know if
yeah.
Bastion's the main
Technically
character.
speaking,
I think
Bastion's the main character.
I think Atreyu's the main
But Atreyu's more of like the main character of the movie.
Yes.
So, yeah, but that's the thing. Atreyu doesn't actually need to overcome anything.
No,
Yeah.
He
that's
is,
true.
from the
Yeah.
very start, fully equipped to handle every challenge.
and
As he's told by Fleshhawk,
Right.
bring nothing, bring no one.
and I
The,
think
the
like
only one who has to face challenge is Bastion.
Okay, we're using a lot of terms that we've made up. Fleshhawk is Moses Gunn from Shaft. And he has a rad, weird shark fin on top of his head in this movie for no reason.
Because it's fantastic, Fantasia.
yeah, so like
Because the old man wished for it.
Yeah, and he's like the oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I guess so. Yeah, so he's like the servant of the childlike empress or something.
Yeah.
Something.
but I agree with John. I think that that goes back to my initial issues with it. Is it felt like there was no challenge to overcome.
For
Like-
Atreyu.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah. For Treyu, and
That's because Bastion's the main character, not Atreyu.
Yeah. That
But-
is the...
Yeah, I guess that's true because we follow Atreyu throughout the whole movie, but
Yeah.
Bastion is the one that actually like grows and changes as a person.
but does he really change that much? He
He,
closes
like-
a window a couple times.
He gets courage and then he uses a
He-
dragon to beat up bullies.
But that's what I mean. Is it's like it like
he was
if,
turning into his father.
If he
was the problem.
instead like
Ooh.
okay,
Like his
yeah,
father wanted
I
him
can
to.
see. But like if it was him change, like if we saw more examples of his change at the end of the movie, but instead it's like, hey, want to like meet my friend, like the dragon, and then the dragon kind of beats him up for him.
No, he wished for the dragon.
Oh, okay, did he wish for okay?
Yes.
But
That
anyway,
was his first wish.
yeah, that's true. But at least to me, like it wasn't enough. Like
Right.
you can point to those examples and like that's cool, like they're totally legitimate.
Okay.
But for me, it just wasn't enough.
I think I would say that, like, I don't know if I'd put it in the category of please don't hit me. I don't know if I'd put it in the category of, like, this is a fantastic movie. I think it's a very good kids movie.
Yes.
And the thing that always sticks out to me in that movie is the effects
Yeah.
are amazing.
Yeah, so, speaking of the effects, that was the thing that most impressed me was, like I was mentioning to you in the middle of the movie, was I found, like, when the models were moving, it was a little stiff. Like when, Falcor flies down, that was my main thing, was, like, he just looks, like, the model, obviously, like, looks very stiff.
Yeah.
But, like, when they were just talking, looks so good.
Or, like, Gamork.
Yeah.
That puppet is just a head and a torso, and they do so much with that,
Yeah.
and you don't ever really notice that you never see the other half of this, like, wolf creature.
Yeah.
Because they do such a good job, and the face is so
Yeah.
expressive, and even though the mouth doesn't, like, quite go together, like,
Yeah.
it just looks so good and real.
Yeah, like, he looks evil.
Yeah.
And, like, real good. So, like, the effects were good, so, like, I would say, like, obviously my opinion is based off of, like, having, like, I didn't watch it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you guys have that experience of it as a kid's movie, and I think it is a very good kid's movie. Like, I think it's very good in that regard. But yeah, I think it's a great kids movie, but watching it now, I was kind of bored.
Right. So, how did your expectations from that poster there from a little while ago, like, when the movie started and we started in, like, 1984,
Yeah.
the real world, like, did you expect that?
To an extent, because I've seen other movies that have started like that,
Okay.
and like with the biggest thing is, like, the two main things is, one, I expected the supporting characters, so, like, the three travelers, to have a much bigger role in the movie because they were on the poster than they did. And,
they have arguably, especially Rockbiter, has kind of the biggest role besides Atreyu and Falcor.
Yes, yeah. But I think, like, what I mean is, like, more screen time. Like, I expected them to be bigger parts, but obviously...
Like traveling companions.
Yeah, that was actually what I expected, was, like, they were going to be the people traveling with whoever the main character was.
I think they're more there in the movie to show you what the progress of the Nothing is.
Yes. No, and I'm just talking about, like, my expectations from, like, the poster going in was of, like, that. Was, like, that this was going to be, like, a traveling adventure thing, rather than they show up, he goes on his adventure, and then just the Rockbiter shows up later, and, like, that's kind of it. So I expected them to have much bigger roles. Also, I expected it to be more tragic. Like, you guys, I think it was like somebody I was talking to was mentioning, like, how sad of a movie it is when we were discussing it, and I didn't really like, other than the horse. But even the horse was like more of like, wow, that's dark for a kids movie, rather than like I was actually sad about it. So I was actually expecting it in a darker twist because of the Ouroboros symbol on the cover and everything like that. I expected them all die and then restart, and kind of like showing this like crazy cycle of like awfulness, like, or something along those lines. That's of the story.
Kind of what happens.
Yeah, no, like, and that does end up happening, but not in the way that I had like kind of partway through I expected, because of how dark kind of like part one was, where it's like, yeah, this guy looks like he's gonna like fail, and then I was like thinking like, okay, then it would restart again, or something along those lines. But obviously, like, the NeverEnding Story, like, it did, the final theme of it and how they ended it, it makes total sense.
It is a very sad movie for a children's movie, though.
Well, yeah, it's dealing with crazy topics for a child to understand, like the fact that the viewer of the media is participating in the media. Mm-hmm. Like, a child can't handle that.
Well, and I'm sure, like, to a kid, the horse dying must have been like, what the fuck? Like, that's not supposed to happen.
It was incredibly upsetting as a child.
Yeah.
Especially, like you said when we were watching it, that happens very early in the movie. Yeah. That happens, like, half an hour in.
I expected that to be, like, the part two, you know, almost all hope is lost type deal. And it's like they just dropped it in part one. I was like,
that's the tone of the movie.
Yeah, like, I was like, wow, that's real good. Mm-hmm. And I like the turtle a lot.
Morla? Yeah, you were really into Morla.
Man, that turtle.
Sassy turtle.
Like, that turtle did not give a fuck. like, actually, when it was like, oh yeah, like I expected, so when the turtle showed up, I was like, okay, it's gonna be like the wise sage who, like, when all hope is lost, gives direction that will lead the hero to, like, the next step, right? Because, like, ancient turtle, like, you know, that kind of theme.
It should be like the meeting with the goddess moment, right?
Yeah, that pops up in a lot of media. And instead the turtle just goes like, yeah, I know, but I don't really care.
Yeah, the world is ending, turtle.
Wow, something will be happening. Like, it was like,
that seems neat.
I'm like, all right. I like this. I like the cut of this turtle's jib. So, like, that I thought was cool. Yeah, like it was a neat movie, and I don't regret watching it. Mm-hmm. But it definitely wasn't. It's definitely a kids movie.
Yeah,
was kind of my final impression of it, which is not a knock against it.
Okay,
it's just not made for me anymore.
So another, like, kind of fun trivia is that Alan Oppenheimer is the voice of Falkor and Gamork, and also, like, several He-Man characters. Like, he's a very famous, like, that era voice guy.
Yeah.
And you don't, like, he has a great range. Like, you don't really...
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Falkor was great.
Falkor's a fun character, but that was our headcanon for Falkor, as was Falkor as a junkie, was pretty good.
Oh, fuck, you really fucked it up this time, Falkor.
When he loses, when the train falls off, oh, fuck, Falkor, you should be fucked up when you're flying with kids, Falkor. You know this, Falkor.
You do this every time. God damn it, chugs like some coffee. I gotta find him. Oh, fuck.
If the childlike empress finds out about this, oh, she's gonna cut my dick off, man.
Getting high in the drug addict.
Yeah, the drug addict.
What is going on in that school that they have, like, a taxidermy and skull attic?
Like I said, I swear he was like one room away from their goat sacrifice room.
I love
Like-
that attic though. Like I just kind of want to be there.
Oh no, like that is a really cool set though. Actually, and I love how they set up the attic.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd want to dust, but otherwise I'd totally just live there.
Yeah.
It'd be a cool place to read a
Yeah.
spooky book. Do you think, like, is there going to be any comeuppance for Bastian, like, just skipping school? Like, the movie starts and it's like, you're, like, failing at school. Like, we need to, like, have a talk about how you don't live in reality.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, they're like, yeah, he doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
the movie is very much not about, like, you need to...
Yeah, and I think that goes back to where I say, like, it doesn't seem like Bastian really changes. Because, like in other books or movies, I can't name them off the top of my head, but the general theme is that when they step outside of that fantasy world, it helps them solve the issue. So, like, what I expected to see is that he uses this to get over his mother's death.
Right.
Whereas instead it's kind of like, I'm living even more in fantasy
Yeah,
land.
no, it's definitely just like a form of escapism.
Yeah.
So I think, like, Pagemaster was one of the ones that you said that you did
Yeah,
see.
yeah, I
So
think-
in Pagemaster, his whole thing is that he's a coward, right? And at the
I haven't seen Pagemaster in a long time. So
Oh, okay.
like, and I've only seen like the first like 20 minutes and like last 20 minutes.
That's the only... Okay, so the first 20 minutes, they set up that he's a coward, and in the last 20
Yeah.
minutes, he, like, takes the bike jump that he was afraid to
Yes,
take.
yeah.
And he, like, climbs up to the treehouse that he was
Yeah.
afraid to climb up to.
Yeah.
Bastion never really has a
Yeah,
moment
he
like
doesn't
that.
have that moment. And I think that's what I was hoping for from the end of the movie, and that's why I was kind of disappointed, was it's just kind of like, and he scares the bullies, but it's not like, yeah, it didn't feel like he personally, especially, yeah, like I said, because in the beginning of the movie, they set up, he's really broken up about his mom being dead, for very obvious reasons. And then he's living in his, in his books, like in his escapism, drawing unicorns in math class, and I expected at the end of the movie, through the story of the character in Fantasia, that he would grow more like, not necessarily like courageous, but by naming her the Empress after his mom, like that was a way of like kind of his mom living on through the book that he's reading, so in a sense that she's not dead, but rather is living through the pages forever. Mm-hmm. Like the sense of immortality through written works that has been a constant theme of literature since forever. And then that as a way of him getting over that, but there's not a moment that shows that in the movie, which I feel like undercuts what they had set up at the beginning of the movie.
But he also kind of has to like commit to reading that book forever, because that's almost the point, and that's what happens to the old man. Well, at least it's implied. Like he has to spend the rest of his life reading this book.
Yeah.
Is the nothingness like senility? Is it the old man just like
No,
dying?
I think that nothing is like complacency or like a failure to like dream or imagine or something like that.
I was gonna say, I feel like because the old man goes like, oh, this isn't like your comic books or your video games, and like a theme I've seen in a lot of works is that idea of like the limiting of the imagination,
Right.
and the inability to imagine a world beyond your own,
Right.
and like to hope and dream.
But like hard stance on comic books, NeverEnding Story. Comic books are rad.
This was written in
84. Yeah. So like Alan Moore was just thinking about revolutionizing comic books. So
yeah, so like this was obviously, now we'd go like, no, those are very artistic mediums with very great stories to tell, but in that time, like the people making these films are like, comic books, video games,
yeah.
trash.
Well, so did the nothingness start because Bastian started reading it, or was it happening at the end of the old man reading it?
I feel like so like this, the feeling I got, at least this is my own feeling on it, is that it was a society thing. Like the book, like literature takes on aspects of the culture around it and of the youth. And the feeling I got was the book was saying like the youth aren't dreaming, like people aren't dreaming beyond what they are, because that's been like a theme of movies and stuff like that is the idea of like the death of the imagination, of people being stuck either in in reality of like this is my job and I'm working crushing things like
Which
a lot of
the dad represents, obviously. 'Cause
Yes.
The dad is like very 80s business dad.
Yes.
With a like big gay business mustache.
Yeah.
And like drinking his orange juice and
Yeah,
and
like
eggs.
watch any like Christmas movie. Like a lot of Christmas movies deal with those themes of like, oh, Santa Claus isn't real and going to work and Christmas is just another day, and then the whole idea of the Christmas movie is re-injecting that magic into it and people rediscovering that like the magic of the everyday, the magic of the imagination. So the feeling I got was that the book was the world was dying because there wasn't enough dreaming in society, whereas Bastion represented the imagination of the youth, where the old man couldn't carry forward that vision anymore.
Ooh, interesting.
So he needed somebody younger, somebody with, because generally, like, one of the theme, like a constant theme too with younger characters is that it's the young versus the old. The idea of the old are set in their ways, the status quo, and then the young challenge that and dream of something beyond the current system. So, in a sense, he gives that book to Bastion, was the feeling I got, so that Bastion could jump into that book and give that fresh blood, that fresh imagination,
Right.
and inject it into it.
Which is what happens at the end. He
Yes.
reimagines Fantasia.
And then it's also the cycle repeating itself. One generation handing off so the old man handing his legacy of the book to Bastion to carry on.
Yeah, because the wolf does explicitly say that it is like the imagination of society, but it is very much just through one representative.
Yeah.
There is only one representative of society's imagination at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're given unlimited cosmic power, I guess.
I guess.
But yeah, probably for like the simplicity of like sake of the story, they go like, okay, it's just going to be this one kid and one old man and so on, and handing it off because it makes it easier to manage.
More importantly, how old was the old man when he wished for Child Empress and Sphinx titties?
I don't know if like
I
certain
think
Okay.
Flesh Hawk is the more important question.
Also
Flesh
Flesh
Hawk.
Hawk.
But man, that Sphinx was all Connor's fault in this case. Like you brought attention to it, and then like that was the end.
It was hard to pay attention to anything else once I realized that the Sphinx is topless.
And stacked.
Oh yeah. And like that when he's under it and like afraid, he's looking right up at it. Like it is a shot of directly up at the nipples.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Ruined.
It's a real male POV shot happening there.
A lot of kids got
A lot of kids
got weird feelings unlocked. Oh fuck.
And then they're reminded that they're watching a 12-year-old boy read about them.
Yeah. Oh, so we interesting. So Atreyu, the actor that plays Atreyu is like 13 when that movie comes out.
All right.
He is way too attractive and like sexualized in that movie. Like he's wearing way too much sexy makeup for a little boy.
He's very attractive.
Yeah, it made me feel strange watching this as like an even more of an adult than the last time I watched it, and be like, what is happening with this Atreyu character? Why are they making him so sexy? Why is his shirt so open?
The people of the Purple Buffalo Plains have great conditioner.
Oh yeah, their hair is fantastic.
Yeah.
It has to be. That's how you attract the purple buffalo.
Oh, I see.
Gotta look good, man.
Wolfgang Peterson directed this, right?
Yep.
Yes.
He also directed Das Boot.
He directed Das Boot.
Yep. He's an amazing director. If you like,
Holy
I'm
crap.
blanking on his other movies, but like they're fantastic. Like he's
Yeah.
a prolific. Troy. That's probably not his best work, but like
Yeah, but I mean, it was like an okay
pretty good
work.
movie.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie.
But yeah, he's like a very prolific director.
Damn, like he directed Das Boot.
Yeah. Do you like NeverEnding Story now?
I have a new respect for
I
this
mean,
movie.
It's still boring, but I mean, different audience.
Right.
Different audience. You know.
Also a children's story, right?
You just have to watch
Yes.
it in German next time.
That dubbing was weird in places
Yeah,
that I'd
for, like-
never noticed before.
Especially Teehee, the snail rider.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I noticed it with him.
And also the Bat Rider kind of too.
The Nighthawk. I don't know if like their voices were just garbage or like maybe couldn't come through the makeup and costume they were in or something, or if it wasn't shot in English or I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was released a few months earlier in Germany than North America. That's basically all I know in that regard.
Yeah.
One of your other predictions was that the childlike empress from the poster was going to be the main character.
Yes.
Does not show up until 10 minutes before the end of the movie.
No, and I realized, like, I was definitely quick on it, because I was just kind of like, it's a poster, I want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever, like, she's very prominent on the poster. Probably, you know, main character, one of the main characters. Obviously, yeah, no.
She's a very important character.
Yes, very important.
Yeah,
Just,
she's important.
Like, doesn't get to do a whole lot.
But it's the same with, like, the other characters on the poster, where, like, they don't feel, like, how is it? Like, they don't feel important.
They're definitely
They're important, but they
memorable
don't,
parts
yes.
of the movie.
Yeah. Rockbiter, and and honestly, she does a great job at the end. Like, I thought the performance of the actor for that was quite good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, she
Like,
did a very good job.
very emotive for like a child
yes,
actress.
yeah, like, that was what I was thinking. Like,
I
when
love her
she's-
little coy smile when
Yeah.
she's just like, he's already here.
Oh man, I felt so bad for him.
For
because-
Atreyu,
Yeah, because he gets like he has to travel around, do all this stuff, comes back, and she's just like,
his horse gets murdered.
yeah. Let me like lay on this knowledge dump of a whole bunch of stuff that you probably should have like known before you went out, but you know.
Well, and also, like, Atreyu had already been to the Ivory Tower, and he had already brought Bastion.
Yeah.
They had been here already.
But they do have a good explanation for that of Bastion needed to be into the story. He needed to experience the journey to understand his importance to the story and like how everything works. So like that part I was cool with. I didn't have
But that's why they couldn't explain it to Atreyu, because
No,
Bastion
no.
was already with him.
No, I know. But like this is more of me like joking about it because he shows up and like I felt so bad for him because like yeah, she just goes like, "Oh, by the way, here's all this information." And like does that like smile and everything. That look he gives his dad in the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, the Death Note look.
Oh, when his eyes like near when his dad like says like you should. I forget what he says.
Your math teacher talked to me about
Oh,
your grades.
Yeah.
His eyes just there like, fuck did you say?
Yeah. Like, I was
Yeah,
like,
bad mouthing his unicorns.
yeah, like that was quite the look.
He gave that at the end of the movie too.
Yeah.
I can't believe the dad doesn't show up again in the movie. I was surprised by that. Like
Yeah.
misremembered that, I guess. Yeah, I somehow thought that there was like a part at the end where he had to rejoin the real world, but like as far as we know, he never does.
No,
He
Yeah.
vaguely does that in the second movie, kind of.
And this is also where I like thinking about it some more. I almost feel like this movie should have been 20 minutes longer.
Right. You
Like-
wanted another scene or two?
Yeah, I think like another scene or two to wrap it up and maybe have one more small threat in the middle of the movie. I think would have done a lot.
Or if there was like a scene where Gamork showed up and menaced
Yeah.
Atreyu a little
Yeah,
bit more.
essentially like that to make him a bigger presence because you see the green eyes. He's on a quest. I was like, cool, that's great. You've got the opposite. Two quests in opposition to each other. Runs in the swamp. Great, but not a direct confrontation between the two of them.
Right.
So it would have been great to have one confrontation between that confrontation and the
Right.
final one where it's like they're like either like stalking each other.
If there's a little more cat and mouse between them.
Yeah, and then he escapes, and then they have the final, like, why are you hunting me? It's because of these reasons.
Mhm.
You must die. I think would have, like, one, posed, like, a bigger threat and had a bigger sense of adversity. Made Gamork more interesting and make better use of what is, like, a really cool villain, I thought. And then, yeah, one more scene at the end of him returning, like taking the lessons from the book into the real world. So yeah, I think like an extra 20 minutes would have really benefited this movie.
I agree with you about Gamork. Like, I think Gamork is a really cool villain, and I like the reveal you get at the end of, like, he's not from Fantasia either.
Yeah.
Like, he was sent here to help the Nothing.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't get to find out by who or why.
And I mean, you could even like think of him as like a creation of the Dreamless Society.
Right.
Like he is, it's like malice taking form, but in this case, it's
like complacency or something.
Yeah, like the nothingness is the absence, right? Because it's like the giant says, it's just nothing. All of a sudden, it wasn't there anymore. So it's not even like a malicious force, but just one that's created out of people going like, why should we like it was like the old man said, like, oh, like, why are you here? These are books. Like that the lessening of the importance of books creates a creature to kill the story. But maybe I'm reading too much into it, or I'm on the wrong track, but like almost him as the opposite of the boy reading books is the one who seeks to destroy it.
He is video games and comic books.
Not video games and comic books.
Bleepity bloops, is that what?
Bleep bloop.
Yeah.
Doesn't bleep or bloop or whatever the book guy says.
But I would even say like it's not even that, but what to people who like to older people of that society, what comic books and video games represented to them, because obviously they're wrong, because like we were saying earlier, video games and comic books have a lot of artistic merit to them, but to them it was intellectual rot.
Right.
And Grimoire represents intellectual rot.
But they're also books, I'm sure. That,
Yeah.
Like, they're books that were also the same thing. Like
People haven't, but in these movies, people almost always have this idealized version of what reading is.
Yeah, well, and it's a easier shorthand to say comic books and video games. And all the books that they mention when they're having that conversation at the start are like classic literature. Like
Yes.
he talks about Ivanhoe and Robin Hood.
Yeah,
Robinson Crusoe. I
Yeah,
don't know if he actually talks about Ivanhoe. I might have made that up.
I think you made that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island. There we
He
go.
mentions Lord of the Rings.
It sounds like you were expecting more of a Lord of the Rings sort of story. Like you were expecting like these characters on the cover to be like, we are a fellowship and we're doing a quest or something like
probably like a kid's version of it.
Right.
I think like you mentioning it. Yeah, I probably was. I had expectations of more along those lines. Definitely not that high of like literature or that great of like epic of a story. But something along the lines of like a fellowship to save the land.
I think this was like my first like super meta media, which is part of why it probably like hit me so hard as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just like, oh yeah, like just as like Bastion is experiencing this story, like they also call the Watcher out.
Yes, which was really cool. I really like that. When they go like and that goes back to the Empress's performance being so good, because that and the horse dying, two favorite scenes in the movie. In terms of emotional performances, like I love the turtle, but that was more a personal thing.
This big strong hands.
Again, I didn't have like
It walked out of the scene.
but even if I didn't care about them, I didn't care. The giant could step on both of them and be like, okay, whatever, he's clumsy. Like, no, nothing is lost.
But I cared about Rockbiter, and he was sad.
Lost his bike too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real shame.
Seems like a good, strong bike.
Didn't they?
But yeah, like because like the horse performance was great across the board. Like the
Stupid horse.
Yeah, stupid horse.
like that like no like like it was, and it's just like stupid horse, like this last stroke, and like gone, amazing. And then the Empress going like you must name me, and like the gradual desperation as she goes like, no, you must. Everything falls apart. Perfect.
And she was scared, like she was
crying. Like Chris was saying, very emotive, and that was an amazing performance. And definitely like at the end, like I basically woke up because I was like, this is great. If only the rest of the movie was like this.
and Connor, what name is it?
Moonchild.
Yeah, I would say that's my other problem with this movie is, if you didn't tell me.
All right, I'll do it.
I did not know her name until someone who read the book told me.
Yeah, it gets completely drowned out by the storm, and even then...
And I almost wonder if that was intentional on the director's part to drown it out, to keep it, like, it wasn't supposed to be legible. Like it wasn't supposed to be hearable. And I like to, as part of, like, the person reading the book creates the story or adds to the story, everybody was kind of...
had their own name
to
for that.
put their own name into it.
All right, kids, everyone shout out your dead mom's name now.
Also, like, why do you name your child Moonchild?
They were hippies.
So I'm starting to wonder, because while we were watching this, we were saying, like, how did she get with that dad, this like
Yeah.
80s business dad? Now I'm starting to think maybe her parents were hippies and she was like super rebelling against them, and she was like a super business mom. Maybe.
Moonchild Johnson.
Yeah, call me M.
Moon.
My name is M.
My
Is
name
that short for Emily? Sure.
is M. Say my name. M. You're goddamn right. But so like I wonder if it was intentional on the director's part to do that, because if it was unintentional, very poor.
Yeah, it's just like sloppy. So
Yeah,
you
very
hope
sloppy.
that it was.
I hope
Yeah.
it was intentional.
Does seem like they were running out of funding partway through the movie. So.
Yeah.
Especially because that first scene when we're in the ivory tower, you get to see like 30 awesome, like weird like people with
Yes.
4 faces, the giant, like the people that were like pillars with just a giant rock head.
Yeah.
There's like a 14-foot tall, just a fishneck person. There's all kinds of cool
Yeah.
stuff in the first couple minutes. And the back half is a lot of like shots of New Zealand, I think. But
Yeah,
not a whole lot
I'd
else.
also be very curious to know the budget of like I
Here
love.
was a very expensive movie.
So
imagine.
so to be more specific, I would love to hear like the background of what went into making this movie and why it ended up like this. What was intentional, what was unintentional?
Mhm.
Because, like I said, I feel like the yelling was intentional.
Right.
Because if it wasn't, very sloppy. Like awfully so. Because anybody watching the movie, anybody in the editing room would go like, no, they can't.
And the audio
can't
in the
hear it.
rest of the movie had been like fine.
Yes. Like there have been no issues with audio for the rest of the movie, which makes me think that yes, it was intentional. But yeah, I wonder where the budgetary concerns came in, because I wonder if they were planning to do more stuff and maybe they just couldn't get it
They needed
working.
more Giorgio
or...
Moroder money. Am I the only person that is like blown away by that? I love that soundtrack. I really like Italo Disco though. Like
It's such a good soundtrack.
it's driving. It's disco, and you don't expect it really, but it comes in, and in the uplifting scenes, it's like very like pumping.
I didn't really like the vocal pieces. I gotta be honest. Like the opening was like, eh.
Oh, the Lamal song. Yeah, the main song.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, eh. But a lot of the ambient music was very good.
Mhm.
I really liked. I can't remember which specific scenes, but like I think when he was talking with the wolf, like a lot of the ambient music was like sinister.
Yeah.
And really captured the mood. But like a lot of the more like I guess like uplifting or orchestral pieces that were supposed to be big moments, I wasn't really into, or I didn't really find them exceptional, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I just have shit opinion on music, so like feel free to disagree.
Music and like even movies are like extremely subjective. Though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But even so, like I still firmly believe that like you know, you can say subjective, but
Exceptional things stand out.
yes, yeah. Like I don't like the idea that movies and music are entirely subjective, because it's like there are clear markers of quality. Like we know The Room is bad, or like a
But we
bad
love
movie. But we love it for reasons that we know it's not good, if you know what I mean. And a lot of film students can point out, like you can point out when a movie is good and bad and why it is good and bad, for like structural reasons, pacing reasons, you know, poor effects, things like that. There are very clear markers in movies that you can point to that are beyond just subjective points of why one movie is better than another movie. So I always disagree with that premise, or like that idea that things are entirely subjective. But yeah, with the score, definitely most of it I liked. I just didn't find it as powerful as you guys did.
Right.
But again, I also have a different emotional attachment.
And
to
this
the
is
movie.
your first time, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, maybe because sometimes, like at least I find is my opinions on a movie will change over time.
Mhm.
Where maybe sometimes like the first time I watch it, I'm not invested or I'm not into it.
Right.
But when I have some time to think on it, and also maybe like give it another watch down the line, sometimes my opinion will change. But we'll see if that happens with this movie. But so far, I was kind of like it was okay. It's a kids movie. It's a very good kids movie.
Right.
Not really my thing. and it's part of it is like, yeah, I don't have that emotional investment and history with the movie that you guys do.
That's entirely understandable, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it is very much a kid's movie. It's very much made to, like, really resonate with kids, especially, like, bullied ones.
Yes, and I think it does that very well.
Would you have told 10-year-old Tepper to watch it?
I probably would have. Like, because I definitely think it was a worthwhile movie to watch for most kids, because, like, it's, other movies I watched at that time, like, I can't think of names right now, but they had similar themes. Like, the idea, like, kid getting bullied, stuff happens, becomes courageous afterwards, is something that I've seen themed in a bunch of movies, and I think this movie does it great, and it's fun, and it's a good adventure movie for kids. And the wolf is, like I said, God, I love that wolf.
Gamork is real cool.
Gamork is real good, and that's why I'm so disappointed he doesn't show up more.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about the things I really love about that movie, a lot of it is like, oh, this character is really cool. Like, I think this character is awesome, or that character is really cool, or the way this character looked is really cool, or the way this one was portrayed is really cool. Yeah.
I find this a very character-driven movie in that sense. Like, what you like what I liked out of it was primarily character interactions.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the turtle. God damn that turtle.
But you didn't feel like any of the challenges that especially Atreyu was facing were, like, actual challenges. And he didn't seem to do, like, especially the Sphinx challenge, he just beat it by not believing himself and running?
Yeah.
Or did he believe in himself? Like, you have to believe...
I think he got to a certain point and started to, like, re-believe in himself. So they couldn't aim anywhere.
Bastion believed in him.
See, but, like, what I expected was...
I think that's what was enough.
Then why did the Sphinxes shoot their eye lasers?
Because he didn't believe that hard. Or possibly because it's a movie.
So I was wondering if they always shoot the lasers, and the believe in yourself thing is like, you have to...
Run.
Yeah! Like, don't hesitate, they shoot lasers.
See, like, what I expected for that scene to happen was him to back up and be like, no, I can't do it. And then for Bastion to go like, no, like, you can do it, I believe in you. Because earlier in the movie, he yelled, and he had an impact upon the story.
Right, in the turtle scene, they look around.
Yeah. So I expected him to go like, no, believe in yourself, I believe in you. Believe in the me as believes in you. And for him to go like, yeah, no, I can do this. And then just stride through, no problem. But, and that goes back to the final lesson of the movie not really being a lesson, where he does, like the impact of what happens isn't shown well. Where, like, the impact of the story upon him I didn't feel properly conveyed into the ending, in the same sense that scene doesn't really show, like, him overcoming anything.
Yeah, I still really like the mirror scene, though.
Again...
Mostly because of Bastion.
Yes.
Atreyu realizing that he's being controlled by Bastion, not a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Bastion going fucking insane.
Yeah.
Because he's like, why am I in this book?
Yeah. Like, that was a solid throws the book.
I'm curious if the Sphinx scene plays out any differently in the book. If it is more like him just, like, getting a pep talk from Bastion, and it's a better scene in a movie for there to be lasers shot.
I don't know much about the book.
I know nothing about
the
book.
But, like, thinking about it on this rewatch for me, it really occurred to me that, like, I bet a lot of the things that don't play super well in the movie play a lot better when they're just described in the book.
Certainly.
Like the nothing. Like, every time they showed the nothing, they had to show, like, clouds or space.
Yeah.
Because you can't show, like, the concept of actual nothing in a movie. You have to show something.
And especially in a kid's movie, like, I feel like having that physical action was important. Whereas with a book, like, you can imagine just all of a sudden, no, like, the lake is gone.
I don't know. Did anyone else have any other, like, specific thoughts about any scenes or characters or stuff that, like, stuck out or anything like that?
Rockbiter is such a good boy. And I'm so upset every time he's sad.
Oh, yes. Yeah, poor Rockbiter.
He's just a very nice big boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this, so, like, finishing up some of my thoughts, story started strong, loved the setup, story ended strong, except for the real world stuff, the in-world stuff, the Fantasia stuff ended very well.
Yeah.
Didn't like how the real world stuff ended. And I can see why this movie has had the cultural resonance that it has.
Right.
Like, I see it referenced a decent amount online.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it still comes up about people talking about how scared they were of the wolf when they were
I was
younger.
terrified of that wolf when I was a child.
Yeah. So, like, I can see why it has become, like I said, culturally, like, resonated. And, you know, I'm even though I didn't really enjoy the movie that much, I'm still glad I watched it.
Right.
That's a success to me.
Yeah. You know, again, like, it's a movie, it's part of culture.
It's not for you as an audience right now.
No. But whenever people bring it up now, I can go like, yeah, no, I've seen that, and now it's a part of my movie watching experience. And, you know, the more you watch, the more you read, the more your taste develops, and the more you're able to articulate why something is good or bad, has always been my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So even watching something bad can be very, or mediocre, or something that you didn't enjoy can be helpful, because, it can help you articulate.
Right.
And understand your tastes.
And that was the reason why I was very excited to do this podcast, because, and like I was trying to explain this before, and I think I ended up insulting you by accident, but like, you have a very developed taste in media and different types of media, and it's not like you haven't seen any movies.
Yeah.
There's just like a very long list of movies that we ended up coming up with that you hadn't seen. And so I thought it would be really interesting, because we all have like strong opinions about these movies. And you have a very developed taste, so it'd be interesting because we get to relive it for the first time through you seeing it for the first time, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, and like whenever I'm always faking outrage. It's just a lot of fun to banter with you guys about this stuff, and act hurt and upset, and salty, because it's fun for everyone. So.
Listeners, he hasn't seen Ghostbusters.
Only the sequel.
I've seen the sequel.
That's not an excuse to not see the first one.
I've also only seen the sequel of All Dogs Go to Heaven, and I've also only seen the sequel to Ferngully.
I mean, those are less of a tragedy.
But,
Ferngully's a bit of a big tragedy. That's an amazing movie.
Ferngully 1?
Yeah.
Like, Ghostbusters good, though?
True, but like...
But yeah, well, and I'm going to keep the story of why I've only seen the sequel, even though it's probably way less boring, or it's way more boring than you guys think. But I'm going to keep that a secret until
we do that one?
Until we
Okay,
do that,
that's great.
All right. Any final thoughts? Do people want to arbitrarily rate it?
It's a good movie. Not for adults, but like, it's still a good kids movie.
I give it 3 high Falcors out of 5.
I give it 2 strong hands.
I give it 8 Sphinx tits.
Because that's how many were in the movie.
Oh, God.
Oh, perfect.
And that's it. Thanks for listening. This has been Never End the Story with John,
Chris,
Connor,
and Tepper. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Have a good one.
and a special thanks to 8-Bit Jazz for the use of our theme song, the NeverEnding Story theme, 8-Bit Jazz version. You can find them on YouTube, and there will be a link in the description.